Stary, naprawdę przepraszam, ale nie. Panikę, bo kurwa taką godzinę. Okay, I'm done, thanks.
Good morning, this is day 16 of my self-retreat video project. I finally managed to get up today with this feeling of excitement of what's waiting for me today. Although there are not any unusual events in my schedule, I'm just going to do deadlift today in the gym. Going to read a book, Homo Deus, still the same. I'm a slow reader. I'm going to talk to 2 people on Skype and to 1 person in person, and that's it. Like regular daily schedule, but there is this feeling of excitement of so many opportunities, especially that there are a few ideas arising in my mind about some future projects. So it's a good feeling to get up like this. I got up a bit earlier today than yesterday, and there's this feeling like, oh, it's even nicer when I got up earlier, and that would be even nicer if I try to get up tomorrow like maybe 10-15 minutes earlier. And so yeah, so that's great. And today I would like to address like 2 case studies derived from subscribers, from you guys. But at the same time, I will not say anything that I didn't say yesterday. I will use the same principles that I described yesterday to discuss these 2 case studies, and I will try to support these 2 case studies with my own case studies, because I can totally relate to these situations as far as I understand them correctly. I mean, if I understand them correctly. So first one is actually very similar to the case study I provided yesterday, and this is like someone asked me, okay, so here's the situation. I am in my bed, I want to sleep, but I know I'm supposed to go to the gym, and you said observe your thoughts, but then what? I observe and I still want to stay in bed. So observe and then what? And so in this case, like I said, for me, observing my thoughts, observing my experience, and asking myself how am I feeling right now, like, it's just a starting point to come up with the right action. And so in this case, like, once you've done that, once you familiarize with your thoughts, once you befriended yourself in this particular situation, just, I think, thinking of what will be my experience if I stay in bed for the next 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour maybe. What will be my experience throughout this moment, and what will be my experience if I get up and I do exactly what I know I'm supposed to do. So in this case, try to, like, think of the things that you would be doing. So getting up and, for example, going to the gym and doing this and this particular exercise. I think the more the clearer picture of exact actions you're going to be doing, the more real the picture appears to be in the mind. So it's easier to imagine like two alternative scenarios, and then like just naturally pick the right one, pick the obvious one. The more closely we look at two alternative scenarios, the more obvious the answer will be. And I'm not saying that in all cases the obvious answer is what we normally tend to think that it's obvious. Actually, it's totally opposite. And I just want to say that in the situation of wanting to go to the gym and like feeling like shit and feeling like, no, I really don't want to, I want to stay in bed and so on, it's not always the obvious answer to get up in the gym and go to the gym. Sometimes I really think that staying in bed is clearly the better answer. And I even sometimes going to the gym and not working out is the best example, because first of all, sometimes the reason why I really don't want to get up from bed is that I am overtrained and I need to rest. Basically, that simple as that. Like even in most guidelines for resistance training, for strength training, in weightlifting, it is important to do deload week every 6 to 8 weeks. So after 6 weeks of trainings, it's important to have at least 1 week of rest. So I think it's something to be aware of. So in this situation, if you're not sure whether you should be, it's good for, I mean, the right action is to rest because you're overtrained, then just, and that is my case study that I want to support my analysis. I remember, and maybe this was not even like related with overtraining, it was just related with depression, that I didn't have enough power, I didn't have enough willpower to do any exercise. So I remember like being in this situation, in the very same situation, like staying in bed and like, oh, I know I'm supposed to go to the gym, but I feel like, no, it's too difficult for me. I don't know. And I just divided all this nearest future that is waiting for me into like small steps. So what can I do? And I remember I think I washed the dishes, and that was already, wow, I can do more. And then like maybe half an hour later, this very negative mood kicked in again very quickly. And you know, I just thought like, oh, it's very difficult, but I will try. And at least I showed up in the gym, and but I really felt really down. I felt like, no, it's too difficult, it's really too difficult. And I just tried to, you know, lift the barbell, and it was like, I don't know, 20-25 kilos maybe, so relatively light. Like normally it would not be a problem to do like, I don't know, 30 reps with that, but just like lifting it once seemed extremely difficult. It created a huge fatigue. So I just realized, no, I just can't do this, and you know, I left it. But at least I tried. I did all the steps that seemed real, that were that I could plausibly do. And you know, if there is a wall, you don't hit the wall with your head. You just understand this is a wall and I can't do anything else. So then I'm accepting me hitting the wall, and like what's the next action I can do? And obviously rest or other things in your life are the most obvious answers, at least from my experience, from my perspective. Even the very similar situation happened a few weeks ago when I when I hit the wall in the gym. I was maybe overtrained and I felt very lonely and I didn't feel like doing anything. So, and I remember the liberation of me coming to the gym, but just like not working out. I just lied in a hammock for 30-40 minutes. And you know, just I understand that's the situation. I accept that I am not perfect human being, apparently. I'm just, you know, I have my own limitations, and accepting my own limitations is extremely liberating, and it's just a more efficient way to find your best in the long term. I hope that makes sense. And the second situation is binge eating at night when we feel lonely. And you know, the key part is that self-awareness doesn't help. That I have a high level of self-awareness, and it's still very difficult not to overeat at night. And I agree that it might not be easy not to overeat, but what I think is it should be getting easier to decide if I should be overeating or I should be not overeating. And again, in my own case study, which I want to use here to just to support my point, is that I do not believe that like binge eating or like overeating is the worst thing I can do, and I should refrain from this at all times under any circumstances. And just like one example, like hypothetical example, which I use very often, if I'm in a situation when I feel really down and I just want to go to the casino, for example, and like bet all my money, either win or lose, but at least have some adrenaline, blah 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 blah. Like I said, like if you're a good friend, you will bring me like huge bowl of cheesecakes, ice creams, whatever, and just eat, stuff yourself, and just don't think about that. Like if in that case, I mean, I don't think even like how you can argue with that. That's my perspective at least. But going back to the like evening, like the case study I want to use is actually even many examples, but even today when I felt very lonely, like 1 month ago plus, I was overeating. It was my coping mechanism to like eat, for example, I don't know, 2 chocolate bars, some ice creams, and like some cake from Starbucks, whatever. But I think that was more overeating rather than binge eating, because that was not like, oh, I cannot control myself, oh. No, I was actually, this was my conscious decision. I fell down and it was just improving my mood. There was nothing like in the situations like of the evening, I felt so lonely that I didn't even feel like it would be possible for me to have a good plan for the day after. So I the question I asked myself was, in the name of what should I refrain from eating things that I desired at that moment? And there wasn't much really. Like I was aware of my long-term direction, long-term future, and so it was my conscious decision to direct my energy, the resources of my brain, to think about long-term direction, like what can I change over the next few weeks to change my situation, to not be so lonely that it's my huge desire to overeat. And so I started talking to like a friend of mine to help me create a new plan, and and we started doing that, and very quickly like the level of loneliness drastically decreased. But at that situation, like I remember like few exact evenings, it was overeating, but there was no suffering. And I think, let's be honest, why do we not want to like overeat? Like many people will say that it's about discomfort the next day or something. I just think it's not true. Guilt, yes, of course. Why do we feel guilt? We feel guilt not because of the discomfort. I think, okay, discomfort is a discomfort, so discomfort is creating some level of pain, but it's relatively low. I think it's more about I think mostly it's about not accepting the reality. It's suffering number one, and number two is the consequences of our how our body will keep changing if we continue doing that. And I think it's good to be aware of exact reasons and exact consequences of certain actions. So in that case, I think one thing is to accept my conditioning, to accept that eating, for example, 1 kilogram of cheesecakes will make me, you know, feel relaxed, or like the stress will decrease, because that's true to some extent. Yeah, it's actually true. It's actually true. Also accept that there'll be like discomfort the day after, for example, or even not even the day after, like few hours later. But at the same time, that it will be like step towards gaining weight. And you know, like in terms of gaining weight, it's just important to find out like what can I do to improve my body composition, to improve my form, and so on. And just start with like diet plan or workout plan to keep improving these things. But in that particular situation, if I can imagine this situation or an example of that situation, it's just important like why am I feeling how I am feeling, and maybe focus my attention to change the environment that causes me to be feeling that low and want to overeat, rather than force myself and just assume, based on my conditioned mind, based on my concepts in my mind, that overeating is wrong and I shouldn't be doing that. At least so what I'm saying is that sometimes the answer from my perspective is it's okay to overeat, it's okay to eat some, but just feel your sensations, observe your experience, and learn from it. Learn how much suffering it creates, and what I mean by how much suffering it creates, just be aware of the actual level of suffering. Not that, oh yeah, it's wrong or it's bad and I don't want to do that again. No, like know why this happened and know what is exactly happening when this happens, and then just based on that, like the more closely you look, the more aware you are of your conditioning, of your actual experience, and of potential future experiences, then the answers will be more and more obvious, and the actions will feel more and more natural. And I think it's the ultimate goal, ultimate direction of life, to be in like full acceptance of what I am, of what my experience is, of like how I connect with this world. And then everything is like flowing. I still have a lot of energy. I still want to have I still have desires, because this is part of my conditioning. And just be aware of it, and just make smarter decisions. There's one case study I didn't mention and I wanted to, and I think it's a good it's maybe good to say that at the end of the video. One of my best friends, around the period, like around the time when I started taking mindfulness practice, meditation practice, and just, you know, finding my like building my self-awareness, I started treating it more and more seriously. He started getting more and more successful in business, but also was becoming very stressful, very stressed. And you know, we started talking that maybe like my newly acquired skills could help him, could be useful to him. But there was a lot of fear from him that if he starts practicing meditation, mindfulness, and, you know, have higher clarity of mind, then he will lose his desires to earn more and more money. And again, I think that's just not true. I think it would enable it eventually, to most people, it means they would earn more money than they already are. Their value would be increased. And I think that if I started learning it this way or another, maybe not 5-6 years ago, but maybe 10-11 years ago, maybe I would still be in a, you know, regular workforce until now, and the situation would be very different. I think that you can do almost any job and be happy based like with these skills, you can be just happier. It like whatever it is that you do, you will be happier if you think with higher clarity of mind. So I think it's the learning point for me is not to be afraid of knowing more and more things about myself, because they are already the truth, and it's just about how ignorant I want to be. And you know, at a certain point I will find out more and more anyway, so it's just good to, you know, to be ahead in a way, in this sense. So I hope at least some of it made some sense. If it didn't, please let me know, and I'll be very happy to clarify, to explore it further. And for now, thank you so much for your attention. Thank you very much for your support, and I hope I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Once again, have a good day. Bye.